Hello students, in this video we shall discuss our lab programs number 4 and 5 which are related to Express.js. Let's start with lab program 4. The lab program 4 aims at writing a Node.js program that accepts a port number from the user and runs a node server at the port. So the program aims at sending a port number as a command line argument from the terminal, and our program is supposed to run on that particular terminal. So let's see what has been written, or what is the code that is crucial in sending a port number as a command line argument. First, we have to import the required modules. We import the Express module and create an instance of an Express application. This instance, which is app, will be used for defining routes and start the server. And before we move forward, here to my right, I have created a folder called node app in which I have set up the Express environment, and I have used init npm init space -y, which installs the basic package.json file, and later I have installed the Express module using npm install express. Now that has given me node modules folder package-log.json. So these are the required packages to run a express program successfully. All right, so let's get back to the program here. So here we have create an instance of an Express application. Now the instance is app, which will be used to define routes and start the server. Then later, getting the port from command line arguments. We access the command line arguments uses process.argv. Now this process.argv is an array where the first element is the node executable path. The second element is the path to the script being executed, and the subsequent elements are the command line arguments. Now, process.argv retrieves the third element, which is the port number provided by the user. If no port number is provided, it defaults to 3000, which we have mentioned here. Then let's define a simple route. By now we have got used to defining simple routes. Okay, we define a route that listens for get method, that is the get request on the URL slash. When a request is made to this URL, the server responds with hello world. Then starting the server. We start the server and have it listen on the specified port, that which is we will be giving it in the terminal as command line argument. The callback function logs a message to the console indicating that the server is running and specifies the port number. Okay, so let's run this particular program uh, using node space. The file name is server.js, and let's give the port number. Now the famous port number we always use is 8080. So here we got the server is running on port 8080. Let's head to a browser and let's check how is this working. Okay, I've run it already once beforehand. Now let's do that again. Okay, we got the message saying hello world as a response. Now let's try to run this particular node without giving any command line argument. Now by default it will pick the port is running on 3000. So let's go back to the server, uh, sorry, to the browser, and let's give 3000. And yet again we got the same output. So if it is working, if it is picked the command line argument, which is a port number, it will open the node in that port number, or by default it will choose 3000. So this was the program number 4, where we have to write a Node.js program that accepts a port from the user and runs a node server at the port. Okay, now let's look at let's look at program number 5. Program number 5 aims at writing a Node.js program that reads a file and displays the content on the screen. So here we are supposed to write a program that reads a file and displays the content of the file on the screen. For that, I have created a file called readfile.js, and also I have created a text file from which the program is supposed to read, and the content I've given here is hello there, how have you been lately. So let's look at this particular program. And here, if you observe carefully, I have not used express module. This is a very basic node program that is not using express module. So let's look at the code. So we have started with importing the required modules. The first import is we have imported fs module. Now what is this fs module? Fs module is to handle system operations, and the path module to handle and transform file paths. Okay, then next thing is to get the file path from command line argument. So here, in order to um, we have to suggest the path from which the program has to read the file. Okay, we need to suggest the path of the file using command line arguments. So here we access the command line argument using process.argv, same as before. Now this retrieves the third element, which should be the file path provided by the user, that is us. Then check if the file path is provided. If the user does not provide a file path, we print an error message and exit the program. So this piece of code deals with whether the user has given the command line argument or not. Then resolve. Resolve the file path to handle relative paths correctly. So we resolve the file path to handle relative paths correctly using path.resolve method. So this is a method that will monitor if the paths are being handled properly or not. Then reading the file asynchronously. This is where things get interesting. Now we use the fs.read. Where did we use? Yeah, here. We use fs.read file. Sorry, read file method to read the file asynchronously. We provide the resolved file path and specify the encoding, that is UTF-8 encoding to read the file as a string. Now if an error occurs during reading, we print an error message and exit the program. And if the file is read successfully, we display its content on the screen. So how are we going to display the content on the screen? Using using the console.log. Okay, here if you observe carefully, we have not used any server, we have not used any port number, so everything is done and retrieved from the terminal. So let's go ahead and try to run this particular program. First, let's copy the path, node space read file.js space the path. So here we successfully got the content. I hope it is visible. So hello there, how have you been lately? So we were able to successfully read the file from a node program and display its content. Now let's look at how we can add a server and a port number, and let's see how we can get the content of the file as a response from the server. For that, I have created another file called server1.js. So same thing, write a Node.js program that reads a file and displays the content on the screen. So here I need to mention a small change using uh, using Express. Let's keep it simple. Okay, so for that I have imported the required modules, which is Express and FS and path. Okay, we have seen already why we use FS. Then we create an instance of an Express application that initiates the Express app. Then getting the port and file path from command line arguments. So first, here we are also retrieving the port number as well as the path to the file from which we want the server to read it. Okay, so here it's we are using the same process.argv to retrieve the command line argument, the port number as well as the path to this text. Now if the port number is not picked properly, by default 3000 will be chosen. Then checking if the file path is provided. So if the file path from here is provided, if the file path is not provided, see here we have an exclamation, that is negation. So if the file path is not given, we will get please provide a file path as command line argument. Okay, then it will exit the program. Then if the file path is provided properly, then the defining routes will happen. So we define a route that listens for get request on the route URL. Okay, we have used the slash as mapping. When a request is made to this URL, the server reads the specified file and sends its content as the response. So here we are not getting, we are just like the before the fourth program, we are not getting hello world here as a response, but rather we want the content of the file as a response. So for that we used resolve path dot is path dot resolve and file path. Then reading the file asynchronously. The server reads the specified file and sends its content as the response. Now, if an error occurs during reading, the server responds with a 500 status code and an error message. Okay, that is what this is all about. Then finally, we use app.listen method to start the server. So let's look at how we can run the server using a port number and the path. This is server1.js and let's give the port number, let's say 8080 and the path. to the file. So we get the log message that says server is running on port 8080. Now let's head back to the browser. Let's open a new browser. We can do it in the previous one, but still, you know, 8080. So we got the content of the file on the browser as a response from the server. Hello there, how have you been lately? So this is how we are supposed to create the node program that can read content from the files.